Hi again. In the chapter on Rosicrucianism in John Karel von Baalen's The Chaos of Cults, he's been quoting frequently from Max Heindel's definitive books on the subject, published about a century ago. Now he's got to the doctrine of God, according to Max Heindel. The Trinity. The Father is the highest initiate among the humanity of the Saturn period. The ordinary humanity of that period are now the lords of minds. The Son, that is Christ, is the highest initiate of the Sun period. The ordinary humanity of that period are now the archangels. The Holy Spirit, that is Jehovah, interestingly, is the highest initiate of the Moon period. The ordinary humanity of that period are now the angels. Now you might, if you know anything about Mormonism, think this sounds more like Mormonism than Orthodox Christianity. Now he deals with the Holy Spirit. It is necessary for all beings, high or low, in the scale of existence to possess vehicles for expression in any particular world in which they may wish to manifest. Even the seven spirits before the throne, referring here to Revelation 1:4, must possess these necessary vehicles, which of course are differently conditioned for each of them. Collectively, they are God and make up the triune Godhead, and he manifests in a different way through each of them. Now their doctrine of man. The Bible does not state anywhere that the Negroes are the descendants of Ham. Besides, it is well known that the biblical ethnology, as commonly understood among Orthodox people, is an utter impossibility in view of the facts of geology and ethnological research. The biblical ethnology also has the exact year of the flood and similar events fixed, but from the occult point of view, which is derived from a direct reading in the picture gallery of the past, which we call the memory of nature, the case is very different. We find that there have been various epochs or great stages of unfoldment in the Earth's history, and that the Negro was the humanity of the third of these epochs, the Lemurian. The whole human race of that time was black-skinned. Then came a time called the Atlantean epoch, when humanity was red, yellow, except one race, which was white. These people were original Semites, the fifth of the Atlantean races. These Atlanteans are called Nibelungen, or children of the mist, in the old folk stories, for at that time the atmosphere of the earth was a very dense fog. In the latter half of the Atlantean epoch, this atmosphere condensed, floods resulted, and gradually the sea covered the larger part of the globe. Then the atmosphere became clearer above the earth. This point in evolution is described in the Bible, where Noah, the leader of the Semites, came out from the drowning Atlantis and first saw the rainbow, a phenomenon impossible in the foggy atmosphere of early Atlantis. We also hear of that emigration of the story of Moses and the Israelites coming out from Egypt while the Egyptian king and his men drowned in the waters of the Red Sea. These people had been chosen to become the progenitors of our present Aryan races, but not all of them were true to the command of their leader. There were some of them who went after strange flesh, and that is the greatest crime possible at such a time. For when a leader is aiming to instill new faculties into a new race, the admixture of strange blood has a tendency to frustrate his plans, and therefore some of these chosen people were lost. That is to say, they were abandoned by their leaders and did not become the forebearers of the new humanity. Those who were thus lost or left behind are, strange to say, the present-day Jews, who at one time married into the families of their Atlantean brethren, contrary to the commands of their divine leader, and yet today think themselves the chosen people of God. Now the divinity of man. Heindel says, there is endless progress, for we are divine as our Father in heaven, and limitations are impossible. A flagrant denial of page 1 of the Bible. Pantheism. We would ask, what do you mean by nature? Bacon says that nature and God differ only as the print and the seal. Nature is the visible symbol of God. We are too apt to think of nature nowadays in a materialistic sense. Back of every manifestation in nature are forces, not blind forces, but intelligences. What we speak of as electricity, as magnetism, as expansion in steam, etc., are intelligences which work unseen to us when certain conditions are brought about. Nature spirits build the plants, form the crystals of the rock, and with numerous other hierarchies are working around and about us as unseen, but nevertheless busy in making that which we call nature. Now Max Heindel on parenthood. Unless there is an ego seeking embodiment through a married couple, their efforts will be fruitless. We know that if we mix hydrogen and oxygen in proper proportions, we always get water. We know that water will always flow downhill, and thus all the laws of nature are invariable, so that unless there were another factor than the chemical mixture of semen and ova, there would always be issue. And this unknown and unseen factor is the reincarnating ego, which goes where it pleases, and without which there can be no issue. If the inquirer will pray earnestly to the angel Gabriel, who is the ambassador of the regent of the moon to the earth, and therefore a prime factor in the generation of bodies, it may possibly avail to bring the desired result. The best time is Monday at sunrise, and from the new moon to the full. And finally, prayer. Here's Max Heindel's prayers. Hallowed be thy name. Prayer of the human spirit to the Holy Spirit for the desire body. And thy kingdom come. Prayer of the life spirit to the Son for the vital body. And that ends John Karel von Baalen's discussion of Rosicrucianism. Next time, Unity School of Christianity. A question for all anti-Trinitarians. What do Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormons, Muslims, Orthodox Jews have in common with occultists? There's 4 videos. I'm linking the first of them. It's Louis Berkhoff's discussion in his book, History of Christian Doctrine. 4 videos dealing with the history of the doctrine of the Trinity as revealed in the early records of the church from the first 6 or so centuries. See you next time.